Hello. A few months ago I bought this plane in an online auction. This is the ready-made RC Mako, also known as the Hobby King Skyray. And when I went around to pick it up, the guy who was selling it had two of these XUAV Mini Talons, and I asked him why he had two of them, and he said because they're so good. And that comment stuck with me, and even as I was leaving his house with my new flying wing, I could already feel the neurons in my brain beginning to form the idea of perhaps getting one of these Mini Talons to try out someday. So fast forward to a few weeks ago, big thank you to Banggood who offered to send one of these to me for a review. This is the plug and play version, which comes with a bunch of things, usually minus radio and receiver and battery is I think what that generally means, and that's what it means in this case as well. So these photos here are actually not quite right, because as we'll see in a minute, it came almost completely built up. You didn't have to attach half of what we see here in these photos, and there were, so you're supposed to get these things here. There were a few things different, and one thing actually the propeller was missing, so I'm not sure if I got exactly what I was supposed to get. In particular, this motor turned out to be not really what it says on the box, and not what it says here either. And the ESC also, there's a bit of an issue with the ESC, but we'll get to that in a minute. So anyway, this is the listing here, and you can take a look at that yourself, I suppose. Okay, I just thought I'd have a look at how this was packaged, and I don't really do this normally because usually the stuff I buy is quite durable and it doesn't matter about how it's shipped, even if it's shipped roughly. But when you have something as large and as fragile, potentially fragile as this, coming all the way from China, I thought other people might be interested to see how it was packaged and how it turned out. Oh, can't actually see it on this side, but the motor, which is already attached, has punctured a few holes in there, so you can see it's been placed that end down a few times. Hopefully the motor will be okay. The box was a bit sort of squished in a few places, but most of it seems to have come out all right. These are the tail planes, and the servo's already in there. Nothing seems to be wrong with those, except for maybe that tiny little bit there on the end, but that kind of to be expected. That was just sitting in there, and then the wings are taped onto the side, and I noticed a little bit somewhere, oh no, there it is there. So there's a bit of a bend like that, not a big deal. Pretty sure that's the only place that it is even slightly damaged. There's servos in there, CG's nicely marked, that's good. And then the fuselage is just sitting in here. Obviously not completely assembled, but a lot of it's done already, so all the plywood bits are on. And I don't know if you can see down inside there, but there's some trusses inside that are already attached as well. The wheel is in there. The ESC is all connected up as well. So there's not really that much assembly that needs to be done. And we have stuck on the side there some carbon booms. There's two of them there. I'm not sure what that long one is for. And then over here we have, looks like we have some prop adapter things, and some velcro straps, and a little bit of things for the servo connectors and the push rod clevis, whatever you call those things. I didn't see any prop in here. No. Unless maybe the propeller is inside here, but I don't think it is. Here are some photos that I took at the time. All of the servos are already mounted and glued into the wings and the tail planes. I could not find any markings as to say which brand they were. You can see some pretty chunky spars in the tail planes, which is nice. Here's the wings, and there are actually two spars, as we saw just a moment ago, in the wings. There's actually a spar alongside each side of the fuselage as well, so it's a fairly stiff structure overall. There's a hole at the front just above the nose wheel, presumably to let some air in for cooling maybe. You could perhaps put a camera through here as well, I suppose, if you wanted to. The tail I don't know what to call this. It's sort of, it helps to keep the back of the plane off the ground, which is quite nice. So if you use about a 9-inch propeller, you're not going to break your propeller, hopefully. And it also provides a decent amount of yaw stability, I think, as well. Towards the back, at the bottom of the fuselage, it has this funny sort of shape here, which leads me to believe that maybe you could attach something on there, maybe landing gear or something, but I don't know of anything that would attach onto here. I mean, I'm not aware of anything that's purpose made for this. There's a fancy sticker, a not so fancy connector on the ESC. It's a two spars here, and you can see that the leading edge one is longer than the back one. But if we look at these two here, you'll see that the leading edge one is actually shorter. That's because some of the spar for the leading edge is inside here. Actually, I think this is, yeah, there's already a carbon rod in here as well. And if we look at it from the side, we'll see that they go through into the plywood, so it's nice and strong there. This is the leading edge one. So this is actually a smaller piece that the other boom will go round when they slot together, and on this one it's the other way around. So the piece that's on the fuselage will go inside the one on the wing, this one. This is where the tail planes slot in. They slot in very tightly. I got the feeling I could fly it without gluing them in, actually, but of course I wasn't going to try that. Now, about the electronics, you can see from the box here that this is what was supposed to be included. The propeller, as we saw before, unfortunately was missing. Servos were all there. ESC is this one, so that is, as stated, a 40 amp. Oh, okay. It's a 40 amp ESC, even better. But the motor is not this one. It's a 3536, quite a large motor, and it's a 930 kV versus the 1300 kV that it says on the box. And if we have a look at the Banggood listing, this is matching what's on the box, but it's not matching what was in the box. Down here we can see they are recommending to use a 4S battery. From what I saw on RC groups, it seems like a 1300 kV motor would work okay with a 3S battery, but this 930 kV motor is probably going to require a 4S battery to get any kind of decent thrust out of it. In fact, when I ran a similar spec motor, a 950 kV motor with a 3S battery on my flight test Spitfire, it just had pretty much no power at all. And this plane is going to be a lot heavier than that, so it just seemed to me that this motor here is definitely going to need a 4S battery. Now that brings in a problem, because the ESC is only rated to 3S. So why would they give you a 3S rated ESC if they're recommending to use a 4S battery? So there's a little bit of something weird going on here. And I think I saw somewhere that this large motor is perhaps supposed to be the one that's included with the larger size Talon, because there's a 1.7 meter wingspan Talon also made by this company, and I think perhaps this is the motor for that one. So because of that, I ordered this ESC to use with this plane instead. This is a 50 amp ESC which is rated to 4S, and I also bought a couple of 9x6 propellers to use with it as well. Here's what was in the little bag of accessories. There are a set of 4 servo horn thingies and screws for them, and then there's a spare for those as well. There's the push rods, and then there's a little Allen key to tighten up the screw that holds the spars together inside the wing, and some Velcro strips. I noticed that the cable for the servos that are in the tail is an extra long one, so you don't need any extensions to bring all of your servo leads to the same place to plug into the receiver, so that's really nice. This is 50 centimeters long. It's pretty long. I also found that the servos were all centered quite nicely. So this is my servo tester. When the middle light is on here, it's doing the center position on the servo, so that's quite nice. And this is the other tail, quite nice as well. And then also on the wings, this is the central position, and this one here as well. And that's quite good, because if they weren't done like that, you'd have to sort of cut a bit out of here to do it yourself. So it's quite nice that they were set up properly to begin with. Unfortunately, I found that the motor was mounted a bit crooked, and you can probably see it here a little bit. And I think it was because the plywood plate that the motor is attached to is actually mounted crooked inside the fuselage. And there wasn't really any way I could change the position of the plate. But I got a tip from Les, who was the guy that I bought the other plane from and who had the two of these Talons. And he said just put a couple of washers underneath the screws on one side to straighten it up. So that's what I did. I'm not sure if you can really see. I think you can see it pretty well in this photo. It's a couple of degrees off. So to do that, I had to take the motor out, and now we can get a better look at it. So that's the markings on the side, and these are the dimensions of the thing. For some reason one of these screws was different. And I also found that these screws didn't come through very far. There's about maybe a little over 2 millimeters holding them on, but it's a pusher motor, so it's not really pulling on these too much. I don't think it would be an issue, so I just put these same screws back in with this small distance of bite, and I haven't had any problems with it yet. So anyway, that's how that was. Since I had the motor out of the plane, I thought I might as well put this on my thrust test stand and see how much thrust it was giving out at 3S and 4S, and that would also let me know what the maximum current would be at full throttle. This is the test I'm going to run here. It just does quarter throttle, half throttle, 3/4 throttle, and then full throttle for 3 seconds each. And there is a wait of 5 seconds at the beginning to give me a little bit of time to get out of the room, because I don't really want to be in the same room as this while it's running, just in case something goes wrong. I might have to change my underwear. Anyway, let's do it. So you probably saw this while it was running just then, but the results are about 400 grams at quarter throttle, just under 800 grams at half throttle, 1.2, almost 1.3 kilos at 3/4 throttle, and full throttle was giving us around 1.7 kilograms of thrust. Not too bad. So as far as the build goes, there's not really much to show because pretty much all of the construction's been done already. All I needed to do was glue on the tail fins like this and glue on the servo control arm thingies. I used Gorilla Glue for both of those. And this is the first time I've used these little metal screw attachments for connecting these servo push rods to the control arms like this. And I've got to say, they're quite a nice idea. They let you get a very, very precise position right from the beginning. By the way, I'm not exactly sure how you're supposed to use these, but I think this is how you do it. This is the only way I could see that made sense. And we can't see it here, but on the other side of this plastic bit, there's a small nut that's on the other threaded side there. And I didn't want to tighten that all the way up because it would stop this piece from rotating. So I left it a little bit, I backed it off a little bit, but I put some thread lock on it so that it couldn't come undone. Is that how you're supposed to do it? And the only other sort of construction-like thing that I needed to do, or decided to do, was to use a bit of hot wire to poke a hole just in front of the tail fins to allow my receiver antennas to come out like this. This is not exactly a 90-degree angle, but it let me get it pretty close to 90 degrees without having to add any more sort of a, rabbit ear kind of thingies to attach them to, and it also means that the antennas are going to be fairly well out from the fuselage, so it's working out well so far anyway.
Okay, so it's Maiden Day. Got some pretty darn nice weather for it. Been waiting for a calm day to try this. I didn't really want to try it in the wind. I'm just going to running it off 2800 milliamp hours here, 4-cell of course. I'm just waiting for an XT90 to XT60 connector for my big battery, and then I'll give the big battery a try. So that's the reason I have this battery stuck on here. It's just for ballast, or what do you call it, center of gravity positioning. and I've made the centre of gravity probably about half a centimetre forward of the marking on the wing underneath. So we'll see how that goes. There's a tiny little bit of wind coming from that way sometimes, so let's do it. 3/4 throttle apparently is good. Man, I haven't been this nervous for a maiden launch in a long time. Oh, that's good. Oh, I forgot to turn the camera on. Have the run cam on there and I didn't turn it on. Wow. Well, it flies very nicely. No, I haven't touched the trims yet, and it's pretty straight and true and everything. Man, this is going to be a nice FPV plane. See how, because I forgot to turn the camera on, I'm going to try landing it earlier than I probably would have. Holy shit. Okay, she comes in pretty fast. Oh, look at that. So I suppose ideally I should screw that in properly. I mean, it was screwed in, I thought. So there's a little screw there. Maybe it wasn't quite in as tight as it should have been. But I don't think we sustained any damage there. A little bit of a grass mark. Nothing's bent. This keeps popping up. I think we're good to go. Let's turn the camera on this time, shall we? Well, it tends to... You can't tip it over too far, you can't roll it over too far, it tends to sort of dip down. It's quite fast. Seems to be waggling a little bit in the yaw. Not sure if I'm imagining it or not. But it's hard to can't really take small turns. Because it feels like whenever I roll it over it's just gonna stall or something. that's as close as I feel comfortable taking it to the ground, which is quite different to the Texumo, which I felt comfortable skimming along the ground just a few inches away from the ground. Here's the hawk. I think it'll be a really good FPV plane. It's a solid. Feels more like I'm flying a real plane, like a full-size plane or something. See how it glides. I'll do a landing test. I mean, like a practice run. Shit! Doesn't slow down.
Pretty spectacular.
Held up alright though, didn't it?
Yeah, what the hell was that?
I just clipped a bump on the ground, I guess.
Yeah. This thing's quick, eh?
Yeah, this is a pretty fast one actually.
Yep. Yeah, I thought it was oh shit, this goes to a speed trip. Not as fast as that one above it though.
No, not that fast.
I just turn this thing off and turn it around, I'll be back in the next few minutes.
Wonder how those batteries are doing. $30 amps for a 2800 milliamp hour pack is about 10C. So it's not like they should be stressing too much. Oh god, doesn't look so fast until it comes close to you. Let's try another glide from over there. Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to land it a little bit early. Normally I land when I hear the battery buzzer start buzzing. But with this one I'm going to need a little bit more time to get it in the right place. And I don't want to be suddenly all out of juice. Okay, here we go. Uh-oh. Okay, that was I did it on purpose because I didn't want to walk over there, you see. What's this? Yeah, so no damage. Successful maiden flight, I think. So when my XT60 to XT90 adapter comes in, I'll put I have a big 4S 8000 mAh battery to go in here, and then I'll put my FPV stuff on and yeah, go for a bit of longer flight than that, I think. So with this plane, I'm thinking to also put the return to home. I want to try clean flight iNav on this plane and see how it does return to home and stuff. I've seen a couple of videos on YouTube where it seems to go really nicely, so hopefully it will work nicely for me as well.
Well, that's as far as I've got so far. It's not a very good looking plane, although I admit it's sort of growing on me a little bit as I look at it more each time. But it seems to be a pretty good design in terms of efficiency and long distance capability and the ability to carry lots of stuff. And it's nice and strong and rigid with all these spars all over the place. But this particular kit, I think, has been let down just a little bit by the fact that this ESC was really not matched up with the other stuff that was in the kit. So I had to buy, as I mentioned, I had to buy another ESC before I could really use it. So I'll fly this quite a bit more, I think. We're just getting into summer here in New Zealand, so I'm looking forward to doing some long, relaxed flights on this, and I'll let you know how all the other experiments go in the future. Anyway, for now, thanks for watching.